Did Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, really think she'd get out from having to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee without the Epstein scandal blowing up in her face? Well, she probably got pretty far, and then she got to a MAGA senator named Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. I think these were supposed to be softballs, but I never saw a softball explode before, so I'm not quite sure what I was watching. But let's take a look at Legal AF, the podcast, and how we covered Pam Bondi and the Epstein scandal that blew up in her face during the hearings. Let's play the clip. Let's continue with Pam Bondi, not because we want to, but because we have to. It's like a train wreck. You can't look at it. You can't look away. Whenever she is so incompetent, obscenely unqualified for that job. Say what you want about Merrick Garland. He was a little bit slow on the trigger. He was, he's not moving fast enough. But he was at least an adult. He at least had gravitas. We felt like we may not agree with the direction of every aspect of the Department of Justice, but he didn't preside over the destruction of the Civil Rights Division, the Public Integrity Unit, the everything about counterintelligence. He didn't fire 5,000 people, the best and the brightest that you could never get back. It's hard to believe we're looking back at the halcyon days, the golden era of Merrick Garland. I said she was going to be this bad, and we all said it. And now it's on full display. So she gets the point, Karen, just to set the stage, where maybe she wasn't ready. It was one of these softballs that bounced off her forehead. Because I don't think Kennedy thought this was going to be a difficult line of questions. Epstein's back, right? And the problem is that somebody I used to work with, named Howard Lutnick, back in the day, decided to go on and give an interview on a podcast. Who in their right mind goes on a podcast? But he decided, and the one he wanted to go on was Pod Force One, that's owned by Rupert Murdoch and the New York Post. I'm like, what could go wrong? So he starts admitting things that, frankly, not that I would ever know it anyway, but I hadn't even heard in the media, which is not only did he live next door, as we knew, and bought the house from Jeffrey Epstein, and they shared a wall because they had adjoining townhouses, but he went into the house in 2005, saw the massage table with his wife, Allison, I'm talking about Howard, and was creeped out by what was suspected wrongdoing, and then didn't say anything about it. This is a guy who had children living next door. He saw, it's like you live next door to a serial killer and you see the hitchhikers going in but not coming out, and you don't call the authorities. So that's a problem. Then he all of a sudden turns in the interview, and I have it up in a video on Legal AF YouTube. He turns in the interview to start talking about, everybody that knew Epstein was a participant in Bill Gates. He said Bill Gates, Donald Trump. I mean, he didn't say Donald Trump. So everybody that knew Jeffrey Epstein, who was his best friend and was socialized with, participated in all the depraved child sex trafficking. Is that what you're trying to say? And then he turns to Jeffrey Epstein was the greatest blackmailer of all time. And then continues, Karen, and says, he is sure that, because he's a broker in his mind, there was a trade. He probably traded the videos of important people, like his boss, having sex with raping girls with the prosecutors in Miami to get that sweetheart deal of 17 months. How did he get that deal, Howard speculated? Well, that is completely counter to the FBI's position. Kash Patel swore under oath that there's nobody else involved. The only one that was child sex trafficked, it was only to Jeffrey Epstein, or I would prosecute it. That's not what Howard Lutnick says. So, and you've done prosecution related to this type of thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I wanted to ask him so many questions of that interview, right? He was saying, he's the greatest blackmailer of all time. Really? How do you know that? Because you just said after that one time that you went in there with your wife and was creeped out, you never talked to him again and never saw him again. So either you saw something or people told you, right? What was going on? He had very specific information that I would love to know more of. Where did he get that? And how did he know that? And why didn't he say anything about it, as you said?
Why would, well, you might get your chance, because here's a clip of Senator Kennedy asking very similar questions as my podcast partner and friend Karen Freeman-Ignifilo to one Pamela Jo Bondi. Roll it.
Secretary Howard Lutnick on October 1 gave an interview to the New York Post about Mr. Epstein. And he described Mr. Epstein as, quote, the greatest blackmailer ever, close quote. Have you reviewed that transcript of that interview?
I have not reviewed the transcript, but I saw the clip of it.
Okay. It appears that Secretary Lutnick was Mr. Epstein's next door neighbor. In fact, their townhomes shared a wall. And the reporter that was talking to Mr. Lutnick, she asked how other prominent men could have been associated with Epstein when Mr. Lutnick could immediately sense that he was a, quote, pervert. And then Secretary Lutnick said, or rather the reporter said, did they see it and ignore it? Do you remember that from the interview?
I do.
And Commerce Secretary Lutnick said, no, they participated. And then Commerce Secretary Lutnick goes on to say, quote, that's what his MO was. You know, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was a video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, blackmailed people. That's how he had money, end quote. Is that true?
Senator, as our July memo said, we did not uncover evidence. This case has gone through 3 administrations, as well as former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta.
I know that, Pam. But have you interviewed Secretary Lutnick?
No, Senator.
Do you plan to?
If he wants to talk to the FBI or the FBI wants to talk to him, that is more than on.
Don't you think you ought to talk to him after this interview?
Senator, if Howard Lutnick wants to speak to the FBI and if Director Patel wants to speak to Howard Lutnick, absolutely.
Okay. Maybe we ought to get Mr. Lutnick in here too, Mr. Chairman.
Maybe we ought to get Mr. Lutnick in here too, Mr. Chairman. That is not what Pam Bondi wanted to hear. But this is an administration that operates with impunity and has a tone deafness about them, that they're in some rarefied world, that they're untouchable because their fearless leader is. If you were to piece together, but they don't have immunity. He does. They might have future pardons in their back pocket, but they don't have immunity. See, Howard obviously was trying to spin the narrative about how he lived next door to what would have been a convicted child sex trafficker for so many years, and threw in something nobody else knew about. The guy is dead. Nobody knew about the visit between Howard, Alice, and his wife, and Epstein, but Howard. But Howard had to keep talking away there. I was in the house. I saw the massage table. Well, if everybody that knew Epstein participated, like Bill Gates, then why not Donald Trump? So he threw Trump under the bus. He destroyed Kash Patel's under oath statement that they found no credible evidence of anybody being involved other than Jeffrey Epstein. And I think Kennedy did his job, whether he wanted to or not. And Bondi was left looking like a complete and utter nincompoop. What did you think, Karen?
I mean, the crazy thing about that hearing and about Pam Bondi is if she had evidence that absolved or exonerated people like Donald Trump, she would be presenting it, she'd be waving it, she'd be having it on big poster boards. But instead she says, oh, I'm just not going to answer those questions. I'm not going to tell you whether or not we have this, or I didn't see the file, or I don't know anything. And so all of the different things that she was asked that she was completely evasive, like the $50,000 for Tom Homan in the bribe, or all of the Epstein questions about was there a picture with Trump, was, you know, all the different things that they were asking about Levitt, about all the specifics that she just kept deflecting and refusing to answer, and instead attacking them and saying things like Tom Homan I forgot what she called him, but you know, she went on about how great he is and how he's protecting our borders, and you know, how he's this loyal, upstanding American. You know, if she had evidence that he didn't do it, you'd be damn. I would give you any amount of money. I would bet that she would absolutely be waving that exonerating evidence at the hearing to exonerate all of those people, including Donald Trump, when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. So the fact that she was deflecting, refusing to answer, giving these canned answers, and then saying things like, oh no, you're the one taking dark money, or you owe Donald Trump an apology for defaming him, and, you know, doing that kind of stuff. It doesn't help her, and it certainly doesn't help Trump or any of the other individuals. It just makes them look more guilty, because she is the one who, no one believes she hasn't looked in these files. No one believes that she hasn't seen all of the evidence, that she hasn't seen everything that's in all of those files. She's not incompetent in that regard. Of course she knows what's in there. And so the fact that she isn't saying that it's not, that they're innocent and that there's evidence of innocence in there, I would read into that in a big way, because that to me is more telling. She is the person in the know. And so that I just thought it looked so terrible on the administration, her testimony, and I think it really backfired.
I agree with you. When she said, well, Secretary Lutnick wants to talk to the FBI, and the FBI wants to, what are you effing talking about? Even Kennedy was like, maybe we need to bring Lutnick in and put him under oath. How about that?
Exactly.
You know, and again, the Epstein stain, the stench of the Epstein cover-up scandal continues to follow this administration around, because Donald Trump refuses to level with the American people about his relationship, about their financial ties, if there were any, and to release the files because there are embarrassing things in it. You know, if there were nothing in there about him that was embarrassing, they'd already be out. It'd be published in a book by Heritage Foundation Press, right? They'd be doing a rally about it. But no, so we have to conclude, just like we would in court. Look, if a party fails to produce documents or information, or spoliates them, destroys them, a judge and a jury can conclude through an adverse inference that the documents that are missing are not helpful and are harmful to the position of the party that's withholding the documents. Okay, nation, Trump is withholding the documents. We can therefore make an adverse inference that they're not helpful. They're harmful. Welcome back. That's Legal AF, the podcast. We do it Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Networks. 5 years in the making, and because of you, is why I got all dressed up. Top 25 in the weekly YouTube podcast, #1 law and politics show in America. No, I don't think it's America. I think it's the world. In any event, it's all because of you. We really appreciate it. Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button, whether you're on Midas or you're on Legal AF. Slide over to Legal AF Substack and do the exact same thing, and help us on the charts, because it does keep us on the air. So on the audio side, Apple and Spotify, make sure you watch it, listen to it there. Watch us on YouTube and all that great stuff. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.